In the previous video, we discussed configuring a portfolio plan. Let us now discuss creating what-if scenarios. In this video, we are going to take a look at enabling scenarios in portfolio plan, creating a new scenario, and we'll take a look at how we can commit the changes from your scenario to your project. So this is my portfolio plan, which is currently showing us the data from two different projects. And we have seen how we can make a change to this particular plan, and we are able to also commit those changes in the project. But what if you want to have this planning and you also want to just play around with the plan? So there is a concept of scenarios that you need to enable in your portfolio. So if you click on this configure option on top, you will be able to make some changes to your portfolio configuration. And if you scroll down to the very bottom on the left hand side, you have the option to enable a scenario under the advanced section. And if you click on the scenarios option here, you have the option to click on the enable scenario button, and then you need to give your initial scenario a name. So this will be the first scenario that you will have in your portfolio plan. So simply click on the button create scenario to create your very first initial scenario. And when you have your initial scenario created, you can actually go back to the plan, and you will now be able to make a change to your plan and create multiple scenarios. So let us say if you want to understand whether you can release your particular story instead of version 3, you want to release it in version 2 maybe. So let us say you were just checking and you're just playing around with your portfolio plan. So what you can do, you can actually simply change the version from version 3 to version 2 for one of your story, and then you can also scroll down further and you can make a change to this particular item here where the bug is currently scheduled to be released in version 3, but let us see if we can release it in version 2. And I want to just see if I can release a lot of my items in my version 2 instead of version 3. So all I will do, I will simply change the version here, and on top, of course, we can take a look here that it says uncommitted changes, and we also have the button that says calculate. If I click on the calculate button here, we will get some information on the timeline under the scope where we will be able to understand whether we can release it early or not. And after making these changes, if you want, you can directly commit them, but we just want to create this scenario and be able to refer to this particular change later again. So if I click on the initial scenario button on top, I have the option to also create one more scenario. So this time I will simply give this scenario a name like release in version 2. So this is my scenario, and I'll simply copy the scenario that we already have and click on the button create. So this time we have a new scenario, and it will be committed as part of that scenario only. So let us say if you want to create one more scenario where you just want to change the date of your specific version 2. So let us create one more scenario, and this time we will name it as release version 2 early, and I will copy it from my current version 2. And this time I just want to make a change in this particular scenario where I will update my date. So if I go to my release tab on top and I go to my specific version 2, I will simply change the date to something else. Let us say a fixed date, and I may want to release this particular version in my April's first week, let us say 2nd of April, and I'll click on the calculate button on top. So any change that you do right now in this particular plan will of course not be applied to the project, but you will also be able to save those changes, but they are still saved in your particular scenario. So on top you have couple of scenarios to choose from. You have initial scenario, then you also have your scenario where you can see whether you can release your particular version 2 or version 3. Maybe you just want to replace your version 3 with version 2. So you can simply keep on swapping and playing around with your plan, and any change that you do right now is still not impacted directly on the project. You still need to click on the uncommitted changes button on top, and this particular button will be applicable for the scenario that you're currently working on. So let us say if I click on the release version 2 early scenario where we want to check whether we can release this particular version 2 on 22nd of April or not, we can simply click on the button on top to apply those changes. So right now we can see here that when you click on the button here, commit selected changes, the changes will be applicable and it will be applied to the project. But just to clarify, these changes are only for a particular scenario. So it's a very nice way to just play around with the plan of portfolio, and it actually enables you to just ask your questions to portfolio and ask multiple questions and save them as a scenario so that you can refer to them again. So when you are 100% sure that you really want to apply those changes, simply commit the changes for that particular scenario. In the next video, we will take a look at portfolio reports and program view.